Buenas noches, soy Lourdes Evans y vamos a leer. Siempre me queda, tengo como un labio desparejo, a ver si me hubiese dado como un ABC y me hubiese quedado media boca así como chingada. Bueno, entiendan que esta noche con mis compañeros fuimos a celebrar que nos sacamos un 9, cada uno de nosotros en un parcial nos entregaron hoy, así que fue menester irnos a festejar, así que puede que esté un poco en pedalín, pero no por eso con menos amor, menos ganas o menos de felicidad de encontrarme aquí en este momento. Espero ustedes puedan decir lo mismo. Fire! The Midnight Library, the Matt Haig. El capítulo se llama Fire! Fire! She gasped. The sensations were sudden, the noise on the water. She had her mouth open and she choked. The tang and sting of the salt water. She tried to touch her feet on the bottom of the pool, but she was out of her depth. So she quickly slipped into a breaststroke mode. A swimming pool, but a saltwater one outdoor beside the ocean, carved seemingly out of the rock that jutted out of the coastline. She could see the actual ocean just beyond. There was sunshine overhead. The water was cool, but given the heat of the air above her, the cool was welcome. Once upon a time, she had been the best 14-year-old female, casi o shemale, the best 14-year-old female swimmer in Bedfordshire. She had won 2 races in her age category and at the National Junior Swimming Championship, freestyle 400 meters, freestyle 200 meters. Her dad had driven her every day to the local pool, sometimes before school, as well as after. But then, while her brother rocked out in his guitar to Nirvana, she traded length for scales and taught herself how to play not just Chopin, but classics like Let It Be and Rainy Days and Mondays, and also began before the labyrinths. She also began before the labyrinths were even a figment of her brother's imagination to compose her own music. But she hadn't really gone off swimming, just the pressure around it. She reached the side of the pool, stopped, and looked around. She could see a beach at a lower level in the distance, curving around in a semicircle to welcome the sea lapping on its sand. Beyond the beach, inland, a stretch of grass, a park complete with palm trees and distant dog walkers. Beyond that, houses and low-rise apartment blocks and traffic sliding by on a road. She had seen pictures of Byron Bay, and it didn't look quite like this. This place, wherever it was, seemed a little more built up, still surferish, but also urban. Turning her attention back to the pool, she noticed a man smile at her as she adjusted his goggles. As he adjusted his goggles. Did she know this man? Would she welcome this smile in this life? Having no idea, she offered the smallest of polite smiles in return. She felt like a tourist with an unfamiliar currency, not knowing how much to tip. Then an elderly woman in a swimming cap smiled at her as she glided through the water towards her. Morning, Nora, she said, not breaking her stroke. It was a greeting that suggested Nora was regular here. Morning, Nora said. She stared out at the ocean to avoid any awkward chatting. A flock of morning surfers, speck-sized, swam on their boards to greet large sapphire blue waves. This was a promising start to her Australian life. She stared at her watch. It was a bright orange, cheap-looking Casio. A happy-looking watch, suggestive. Uh, a happy-looking watch, suggestive. Okay. She hoped. Falta una coma. Of a happy-feeling life. It was just after 9 a.m. here. Next to her watch was a plastic wristband with a key on it. So, this was her morning ritual here in an outdoor swimming pool beside a beach. She wondered if she was there alone. She scanned the pool hopefully for any sign of easy, but none was there. She swam some more. The thing she had once loved about swimming was the disappearing. In the water, her focus had been so pure that she thought of nothing else. Any school of home worries vanished. The art of swimming, she supposed, like any art, was about purity. The more focused you were on the activity, the less focused you were on everything else. You kind of stopped being you and became the thing you were doing. But it was hard to stay focused when Nora noticed her arms and chest ached. She sensed it had been a long swim and was probably time to get out of the pool. She saw a sign, Bronte Beach Swimming Pool. She vaguely remembered Dan, who had been to Australia, in his gap year, talking about this place, and the name had stuck, Bronte Beach, because it was easy to remember Jane Eyre on a surfboard. But here was confirmation of her doubt. Bronte Beach was in Sydney, but it most definitely wasn't part of Byron Bay. So that meant one of two things. Either easy in this life wasn't in Byron Bay, or Nora wasn't with Easy. She noticed she was tanned, a mild caramel all over. Of course, the trouble was she didn't know where her clothes were. But then she remembered the plastic wristband and a key on it. 57. Her locker was 57. So she found the changing rooms and opened the square locker and saw that her taste in clothes as well as watches was more colorful in this life. She had a t-shirt with a pineapple print on it, a whole cornucopia of pineapples, and pink-purple denim shorts, and slip-on checked pumps. What am I? She wondered. A children's TV presenter? Sunblock. Hibiscus. I don't know what this is. Tinted lip balm. No other makeup as such. As she pulled on her t-shirt, she noticed a couple of marks on her arms, scar lines. She wondered momentarily if they had been self-inflicted. There was also a tattoo just below her shoulder, a phoenix and flames. It was a terrible tattoo. In this life, she clearly had no taste. But since when did taste have anything to do with happiness, eh? She dressed and pulled out a phone from her shorts pocket. This was an older model than in her married and living in a pub life. Luckily, a thumb reading was enough to unlock it. A thumb reading was enough to unlock it. She left the changing room and walked along a beachside path. It was a warm day. Maybe life was automatically better when the sun shone so confidently in April. Everything seemed more vivid, more colorful and alive than it had done in England. She saw a parrot, a rainbow torriquid, perched on the top of a bench, being photographed by a couple of tourists. A surfer-looking cyclist passed by, holding an orange smoothie, smiling and literally saying G-Day. This was most definitely not Bedford. Nora noticed something was happening to her face. Could she be smiling? And naturally, not just because someone expected her to. Then she noted a piece of graffiti on a low wall which said the world is on fire, and another that said one earth equals one chance, and her smile faded. After all, a different life didn't mean a different planet. She had no idea where she lived or what she did or where she was meant to be heading. Oh, what? She had no idea where she lived or what she did or where she was meant to be heading after the swimming pool. But there was something quite freeing. There was something quite freeing about that. To be existing without any expectation, even her own. As she walked, she Googled her own name and added Sydney to see if it brought up anything. Before she scanned the results, she glanced up and noticed a man walking on the path towards her, smiling. A short, tanned man with kind eyes and long, thinning hair in a loose ponytail, with a shirt that wasn't buttoned correctly. "Hey, Nora." "Hey," she said, trying not to sound confused. "What time you start today?" How could she answer that? Oh, no. Crap. I've totally forgotten. He laughed, a little laugh of recognition, as if her forgetting was quite a character. "I saw it on the roster. I think it might be 11. 11 a.m.? Kind Eyes laughed. "What have you been smoking? I want some." Nothing," she said stiffly. "I've not been smoking anything. I just skipped breakfast." "Well, see you this Arvo, at the place. Where is it again?" He laughed frowningly and kept walking. Maybe she worked on a whale sightseeing cruise that operated out of Sydney. Maybe Easy did too. Nora had no idea where she or they lived, and nothing was coming up on Google, but away from the ocean seemed the right direction. Maybe she was very local. Maybe she had walked there. Maybe one of the bikes she saw locked up outside the pool cafe had been hers. She rummaged in her tiny clasp wallet and felt her pockets for a key, but there was only a house key. No car keys, no bike keys. So it was a bus or by foot. By foot? En serio? The house key had no information on it at all. So she sat on a bench with the sun beating hard on the back of her neck and checked her texts. There were names of people she didn't recognize: Amy, Rodri, Bella, Lucy, P. Kamala, Luke, Lucy M. Who are these people? And a rather unhelpful contact titled simply Work. And there was only one recent message from Work, and it said, Where are you? There was one name she recognized. Dan. Her heart sank as she clicked on his most recent message. "Hey Nor, hope Oz is treating you well. This is going to sound rather corny or creepy, but I am going to go all out and tell you. I had a dream the other night about our pop. It was such a good dream. We were so happy. Anyway, ignore the weirdness. The point is, guess where I'm going in May? Australia. First time in over a decade. I'm coming with work. I'm working with MCA. Would be great to catch up, even for a coffee, if you're okay. D." It was so strange she almost laughed, but she coughed instead. Maybe she wasn't quite so fit in this life now she thought about it. She wondered how many Dans there were in the world dreaming of things they would hate if they actually got them. and how many were pushing other people into their delusional idea of happiness. Instagram seemed to be the only social media she had here, and she only seemed to post pictures of poems on it. She took a moment to read one. Fire! Every part of her that changed, that got scrapped off because of schoolyard laughter or the advice of grown ups long gone, and the pain of friends already dead. She collected those bits of the floor like wood shavings, and she made them into fuel, into fire, and burned bright enough to see forever. This was traveling, but it was after all just a poem. Scrolling through some emails, she found one to Charlotte, a sealed, I don't know, band flautist with earthy humor who'd been Nora's only friend at string theory before she had moved back to Scotland. Hi, Charles. Hope all is fine and dandy. Pleased the birthday do went well. What? Pleased the birthday do went well. Dice eso. Sorry I couldn't be there. All is well in sunny Sydney. Have finally moved into the new place. It's right near Bronte Beach. Beautiful. Lots of neighborhood cafes and charm. I also have a new job. I go swimming in a saltwater pool every morning, and every evening I drink a glass of Australian wine in the sunshine. Life is good. Address 229 Darling Street, Bronte, NSW 2024, Australia, Nora X. Something was rotten. The tone of vague, distant perkiness as if writing to a long lost aunt. The lots of neighborhood cafes and charm as though it was a TripAdvisor review. She didn't speak to Charlotte or indeed anyone like that. There was also no mention of easy. Have finally moved into the new place. It's not a question. Have finally moved into the new place. Se supone que eso es una oración. Bien. Una oración sin sujeto. Wow. Was that we have or I have? Charlotte knew of Easy. Why not mention her? She would soon find out. Indeed, 20 minutes later she was standing in the halfway of her apartment staring at 4 bags of rubbish that needed taken out. Ay, eso también es muy... ¿Por qué escribe así? ¿Por qué escribe tan como si fuera un villero este hombre? ¿Por qué tan poquito a nivel interior? ¿Por qué este inglés de barrio pobre? Pero no tuvo acceso a la educación este señor. ¿Quién lo crió? ¿Quién aprendió por correo a escribir este señor? The living room looked small and depressing. The sofa tatty and old. The place smelled slightly moldy. Casi me muero la lengua. Moldy. There was a poster on the wall for the video game Angel and a vape pen on a coffee table with a marijuana leaf sticker on it. A woman was staring at a screen shooting zombies in the head. The woman had short blue hair, and for a moment Nora thought it might be Easy. Hi, Nora said. The woman turned. She was not Easy. She had sleepy eyes and a vacant expression, as if the zombies she was shooting had slightly infected her. She was probably a perfectly decent person, but she was not anyone Nora had ever seen in her life. She smiled. Hey, how's that new poem coming along? Oh, yeah, it's coming along really well, thanks. Nora walked around the flat in a bit of a daze. She opened the door at random and realized it was the bathroom. She didn't need the toilet, but she needed a second to think. So she shut the door and washed her hands and stared at the water spiral down the plug hole the wrong way. She glanced at the shower. The dull yellow curtain was dirty in a vague student house kind of way. That's what this place reminded her of. Student house. She was 35 and in this life living like a student. She saw some antidepressants, walked with him beside the basin, and picked up the box. She read prescription for NSAID at the top of the label. She looked down at her arm and saw the scars again. It was weird to have your own body offer clues to a mystery. There was a magazine on the floor next to the bin, National Geographic, the one with the black hole on its cover, and she had been reading In Another Life on the other side of the world only yesterday. She sensed it was her magazine, given she had always liked reading it and had been known, even in recent times, to buy it on the occasional spontaneous whim, as no online version ever did the photos justice. She remembered being 11 years old and looking at the photos of Svalbard, the Norwegian archipelago in the Arctic in her dad's copy. It had looked so vast. Aquí hay una cosa, porque nunca me acuerdo si el... Ah, claro, se me pone la fonética, pero nunca me acuerdo si... voy a anotar, nunca me acuerdo si Arctic, perdón. Arctic, se pronuncia la C. Bueno. It had looked so vast and desolate and powerful, and she had wondered what it would have been like to be almost among it, like the scientist-explorers in the article, spending their summer doing some kind of geological research. She cut out the pictures and they ended up on the pinboard in her bathroom. And for many years at school, she had tried hard at science and geography just so she could be like the scientists in the article and spent her summers among frozen mountains and fjords as muffins flew overhead. But after her dad died, and after reading Nietzsche's Beyond Good and Evil, she decided that A, philosophy seemed to be the only subject that matched her sudden inward intensity, and B, she wanted to be a rock star more than a scientist anyway. Me encanta porque esta mina supuestamente es un bocho, o sea, la mina es buena en matemáticas, es buena, o sea, sabe de filosofía, sabe de literatura, sabe de todo, canta, escribe canciones, pero su vida es una mierda. Su vida es una mierda. Entonces, Nora, ¿de qué te sirve? ¿De qué te sirve, Nora, ser buena con los números y haber leído a este, el otro? Ahora citás a Nietzsche y escribís poemas y escribís canciones. ¿Y de qué te sirve, Nora? Tu vida es una mierda. Te moriste, Nora, te mataste, te la diste en la pera, Nora. Perdón. After leaving the bathroom, she returned to her mysterious flatmate. She sat on the sofa and waited for a few moments, watching. Plot twist, la roommate es la novia, la señora. The woman's avatar got shot in the head. Piss off, you zombie fuckface, the woman snarled happily at the screen. She picked up the vape pen. Nora wondered how she knew this woman. She was assuming they were flatmates. I've been thinking about what you said. What did I say? Nora asked. About doing some cat sitting. You know, you wanted to look after the cat? Oh, yeah, sure, I remember. Bad fucking idea, man. Really? Cats. What about them? They've got a parasite. Toxoplasma something. Nora knew this, claro, porque se la sabe toda, Nora, y su vida es una mierda y se quiere morir, así que sabe todo y le vale verga. She had known this since she was 10. No, since she was a teen. Mira que grosa, Nora, ¿cómo sabía? Nora, no sirve de nada, Nora, es una fracasada. Doing her work experience at Bedford Animal Rescue Center. Toxoplasmosis. That's it. Well, I was listening to this podcast, right? And there's this theory that this internal group of billionaires infected the cats with it so that they could take over the world by making humans dumber and dumber. I mean, think about it. There are cats everywhere. I was talking to Jared about this, and Jared said, Jojo, what are you smoking? And I was like, the stuff you gave me. And he said, yeah, I know. He told me about the grasshoppers. Grasshoppers? Yeah, did you hear about grasshoppers? Jojo asked. What about them? They're all killing themselves because this parasitic worm grows inside them to become like a full-grown aquatic creature. And as it grows, it takes over the brain function of the grasshopper. So the grasshopper thinks, hey, I really like water. And so like a dive bomb, they dive bomb into water and die. And it's happening all the time. Google it. Google grasshopper suicide. Anyway, the point is, the elites are killing us via cats, and so you shouldn't be near them. Nora couldn't help thinking how different this life was to her imagined version of it. She had pictured herself and Izzy on a boat near Byron Bay, marveling at the significance of humpback whales. And yet she was here in a small pot-scented apartment in Sydney with a conspiracy theorist as a flatmate who wouldn't even let her near a cat. What happened to Izzy? Nora realized she had just asked the question out loud. Soy voy, Abdul. ¿Dónde estás? Abdul. Abdul. Ah, ahí está. Ya termino, Abdul. Ahora vamos a dormir. Jojo looked confused. Izzy? Your old friend? Izzy? Yeah. The one who died? The words came out so fast, Nora could hardly absorb them. What? The car crash girl. What? Jojo looked confused as curls of smoke wisped across her face. You okay, Nora? She held out the joint. Want a toke? No, I'm okay, thanks. Jojo chuckled. Makes a change. Nora grabbed her phone, went online, typed Isabel Hirsch into the search box, then clicked news. There it was, a headline, above a picture of Izzy's tanned face, smiling. British woman killed in NSW road collision. A woman, 33, was killed and 3 people hospitalized south of Coffs Harbour last night when the woman's Toyota Corolla collided with a car traveling in the opposite direction on the Pacific Highway. The female driver, identified as British, Isabel Hirsch, died at the scene of the accident just before 9 p.m. She was the only person in the Toyota. According to her flatmate, Nora Seed, Isabel had been driving from Sydney back to Byron Bay to attend Nora's birthday party. Isabel had recently started working for Byron Bay whale watching tours. I am totally devastated, Nora said. We traveled to Australia together only a month ago, and Izzy had planned to stay here for as long as possible. She was such a force of life that it feels impossible to imagine the world without her in it. She was so excited about her new job. It is so unbearably sad and hard to comprehend. Y boluda, como quedan vivas, reina. The passengers of the other car all suffered injuries, and the driver, Chris Dale, had to be airlifted to the hospital at Baringa. New South Wales police are asking anyone who witnessed the collision to come forward to help with the inquiries. Oh my God, she whispered to herself, feeling faint. Oh, easy. She knew that Izzy wasn't dead in all her lives, or even most of them, but in this one it was real, and the grief Nora felt real too. The grief was familiar and terrifying and laced with guilt. Before she could properly process anything, the mobile rang. It said, "Work." A man's voice, a slow drawl. "Where are you?" "What?" "You were meant to be here half an hour ago." "Where?" "The ferry terminal." "You're selling tickets." "I've got the correct number." "Right? This is Nora's seat I'm talking to?" "It's one of them," sighed Nora as she gently faded away.